And this press conference is being held by the Friends of New York's Environment. New York's Environment is a coalition of over 100 different groups that work in partnership to protect New York's great resources. It's groups from everything from agriculture to community interests to environmental interests to public health. And we stand here today unified. We're unified about protecting a very critical program called the Environmental Protection Fund. For those of you who don't know, the Environmental Protection Fund was first created in 1993, 15 years ago. It was created to help provide a stable, long-term solution to protecting New York's great natural resources. For 15 years, the EPF has been protecting our natural resources from Montauk to Medina, from Buffalo to Brooklyn, and to the Adirondacks to Amityville. It's protected drinking water supplies, farmland, forested lands, recycling programs, as well as beaches, bays, estuaries, and our Great Lakes. It has produced jobs across New York State, protected public health, and provided a reason for people not only to stay in New York, but to come to New York and live. This particular program was started back in 1993, not out of the general budget, but rather it was specifically designed to be used from monies from what's called the real estate transfer tax. Those were all monies that were put into a fund generating money for New York State. The Environmental Protection Fund is funded from from that pot of money. Recently, the governor's proposed cuts have provided for us a frightening omen. And we are concerned that the EPF is not a priority for this administration. And we want to tell you today why that is not the best way to think. While other budget categories were preparing for a cut or a trim, the EPF was slated to be beheaded. And we need to rectify that before the budget comes out in mid-December. Here to talk about the importance of the EPF, creating jobs, creating and protecting our health, and creating New York as a high-quality place to live are some very key speakers today. So let's start with Lori Tannick, who owns the Indian Ladder Farms in Albany County. She's going to tell you how the EPF has helped her and other farmers. Lori?
Okay, hi. My name is Laura Tenike, and I live on Indian Ladder Farms, which is an apple orchard in Albany County. Indian Ladder Farms has been in my family for 4 generations. Thanks to money from the Environmental Protection Fund, which was granted to us through the New York State's Farmland Protection Program, my family's been able to permanently protect 300 acres of our farmland from the threat of development. This project was also supported hugely by the Mohawk Hudson Land Conservancy and the Open Space Institute. There's one advantage to a tough economy. It forces us to focus on what's most important. And one thing we simply can't live without is food. And when I'm talking about food, I'm not talking about apple juice concentrate from China. I'm talking about apples. And I'm not talking about month-old ultra-pasteurized milk from an organic conglomerate dairy in California. I'm talking about fresh milk, cheese, and butter from our own cows here in New York State. It's a simple fact that our farmers cannot produce this food without farmland, and we are losing farmland to development in this state at an alarming rate. When we use money from the Environmental Protection Fund to protect farmland, we get a lot of bang for the buck. Not only do we protect our food supply, we protect open space, clean water, and fresh air. And when we give farmers money in exchange for the preservation of their land for agriculture, we invest money directly into our economy. Fortunes can be made and lost on Wall Street, but the fact remains that agriculture has always been big business in New York State. Farms are at the epicenter of New York's $23 billion farm and food sector. There are many families like mine that want to work with the Farmland Protection Program to protect their farms. This year, requests for funding for farmland preservation projects has totaled 5 times more than the amount of money available through the program. Those farmers that do receive funding from the Environmental Protection Fund will immediately turn that money around by investing it in growing their businesses. Farmland protection is money well spent. It makes sense for the economy, it makes sense for the environment, and it ensures that New Yorkers will never lose their ability to feed themselves, even when times are tough.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker will be Sean Mahar with New York State Audubon.
Thank you. My name is Sean Mahar. I'm the Director of Government Relations for Audubon New York, the 50,000 member state program of the National Audubon Society. As the state faces troubling and uncertain economic times, continued investment in restoration of New York's water, air, and open space resources can play an important role in revitalization of the state economy. Numerous economic analyses by the Brookings Institution have proven that the health of our environment will determine the health and prosperity of our local communities and the state of New York. When key environmental factors, like water quality and local parks, are degraded, it compounds the economic woes facing these localities and means fewer jobs for the economy. However, when investing in the protection and restoration of these same resources, it can yield significant returns on the state's investment and make these communities more attractive to businesses and people. As more residents are traveling locally and looking for opportunities to recreate closer to home, it's imperative that the state provide residents with increased opportunities to safely enjoy New York's wildlife and open spaces by investing in these natural infrastructure and keep these resources clean and healthy. By doing so, the state capitalizes on the spending through increased ecotourism revenue and job creation. A recent survey by the United States Fish and Wildlife Service found that an estimated 3.8 million bird and other wildlife watchers contributed an estimated $1.6 billion to the state economy, including $250 million in state sales tax revenue in 2006, supporting thousands of jobs across the state. This economic impact is calculated by assessing trip-related expenditures on food, lodging, transportation, and equipment, which clearly illustrates the important role that ecotourism plays in supporting the state economy and the importance of protecting the environment as a means of facilitating economic recovery. We are not oblivious to the dire economic challenges facing our state and indeed our nation, but the longer we wait to make these needed investments in protecting the environment, the more costly the problems become to fix and the return on the state's investment decreases. That is why we strongly urge Governor Paterson to continue to invest in the Environmental Protection Fund in next year's state budget.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, just in from Ulster County, right under the wire. We're happy to have with us today Hector Rodriguez, who is a Ulster County legislator, and he's just arrived.
Thank you.